This is a story about Poppy the Tiger. Poppy the Tiger and the Jigsaw Puzzle, to be precise. Poppy lives in fluffy gardens, a wonderful place to live. Our story begins with one piece of the puzzle, a jigsaw puzzle. Poppy the Tiger was sitting on the grass outside her house with a piece in her hand. Straight on one side, wobbly on all the others. And Poppy had no idea where it was supposed to go. This was a very hard jigsaw puzzle. She placed the piece gently where she thought it might go. She said, "Doesn't quite fit." So she thumped the jigsaw piece over and over until it squashed in beside the other pieces. Bang, bang, bang. "There," she said, and roared a happy roar. Roar! "Hello, Poppy," said Wee Reg the puppy. Wee Reg saw that Poppy was doing a jigsaw. Wee Reg loved jigsaw puzzles. "Can I do a jigsaw puzzle too?" he asked. "I've only got this one," said Poppy. "Then can we share it?" asked Wee Reg. "I don't think so," said Poppy, wondering what she would do if she needed a piece and she couldn't see it because Wee Reg was holding it. "You can't share jigsaw puzzles." Well, that didn't sound quite right to Wee Reg the puppy. He likes to share everything. He shares his bouncy ball with Colleen the cow. He shares his warm blanket with the small green thing. And he shares his dog food with anyone who will try it. Of course, dog food is only for dogs, so he usually gets to eat it all himself. But at least he offers. Wee Reg likes to share everything. So he decided to find out if Poppy the Tiger was right. He took the bus into town and went to the toy shop. The little penguin shopkeeper gave him the biggest jigsaw you could possibly imagine. "It makes a very special picture," explained the shopkeeper. Wee Reg thanked the penguin and toddled off to the post office. And that's where he spent the rest of the day, writing notes, closing envelopes, and sticking stamps. The next morning, the little penguin postman was very busy. He had letters for everyone. Poppy the Tiger opened her letter. Inside was a note from Wee Reg. It read, "Come to the town hall today." And stuck to the note was a single jigsaw piece, wobbly on all sides. "Only one?" she said. "Well, that's no good." But still, she went to the town hall to find out what was going on. And when she got there, she saw, on the grass outside the town hall, a very large board. There was nothing on it. At least, for a moment. Wee Reg the puppy was the first. Holding a little jigsaw piece, he looked at the board. Then he placed the piece carefully on the corner and stepped back. Poppy the Tiger wondered just what he was doing. And that is when everyone else arrived, each holding a single jigsaw piece that had been delivered to them that morning. Poppy looked around as everyone murmured, looking at their jigsaw pieces. Then Camille the crocodile shouted, "My piece goes there," she said, and ran to the board. With a small click, the piece was in place. Poppy the Tiger realized what was happening. This was a huge jigsaw, and they all had one piece each. But her piece looked nothing like the ones on the board. "This is no good," said Poppy to herself. "You can't share jigsaw puzzles." And yet, one by one, They all added their pieces. Tooty the elephant, Fudge and Lily the kittens, Monty the goat. Poppy got quite excited watching the picture come together. By the afternoon, the puzzle was almost complete. There was just one hole left to fill. Poppy the tiger looked down at her piece, then up at the puzzle, wobbly on all sides. "It's mine," she said, thrilled. "I have the last piece." She ran up and popped it in place. It didn't even need a thump. She clapped her hands and roared a happy roar. Roar! Everyone stepped back to see the picture. There, in front of everyone, was a lovely picture of fluffy gardens. The hills, the trees, even the town. And in the picture, everyone was smiling and everyone was sharing, just as they had done that day. "You can share a jigsaw puzzle," said Poppy. "You can share anything," said Wee Reg. And he offered her some dog food. "Let's not share that," whispered Poppy. This is a story about Paolo the cat. Paolo the cat and the impossible problem, to be precise. Paolo lives in fluffy gardens, a wonderful place to live. Our story begins with a problem. Paolo the cat was baffled. He had spent the morning trying to work out the answer to a seemingly impossible problem. An equation he had found in a book called Complex Calculus of the Cat Kind. Just look at it. Can you make sense of it? Well, Paolo, the very clever cat, couldn't. "I'm just not clever enough," said Paolo. So he decided to get help. "I'll ask the cleverest person in all of Fluffy Gardens," said Paolo. Now, you may have thought that was Paolo the cat. Almost, but not quite. At the edge of town is a little house, and there lives a very old penguin. This old penguin, having lived for so long and seen so many things, is cleverer than you could possibly imagine. Paolo packed a sandwich, picked up the book, and set off to see him. He hadn't gone far when he saw a row of baskets laid out on the grass. Tooty the elephant and Poppy the tiger were about to play a game. "Whoever throws a ball into each basket and makes it to the finish line first," explained Tooty, "is the winner. But," he said as he held up his stopwatch, "you must finish before the time runs out." "Can I play?" asked Paolo. "You're not very good at sporty things," said Poppy the tiger. "I don't think you could do it." Paolo was a little shocked at first. But it was true. He never really went running or throwing. He spent most of his time reading books and doing cat things, like playing with balls of wool or eating stinky fish. "I suppose you're right," said Paolo. "I'm not sporty enough." And he continued on his way. Paolo arrived at the little house, and the old penguin opened the door. "Is that you, Paolo?" asked the old penguin, who couldn't see very well. "Yes, it's me," said Paolo. "I brought you a sandwich." Inside, Paolo made the old penguin a nice cup of tea and told him about his seemingly impossible problem. "I'm just not clever enough," said Paolo as he opened the book. "I can't work it out." It's all fine until I get to the square root of pi, and then... Oh, unless it's a fish pie. As Paolo explained his problem, the equation slowly began to make sense. A fish pie! Of course! I get it, he said. I shouldn't have given up so soon. The old penguin laughed and said, There is nothing you can't do. Remember that. Paolo thought about this, closed his book, and left the old penguin to finish his sandwich. Paolo marched back to the friends and announced, I may not be good at sporty things, but I will do my best. There is nothing I can't do. Tooty the elephant smiled. Then let's play. And so they did. Tooty set his stopwatch, and the race began. Poppy and Tooty quickly threw balls into each of the baskets. 1, 2, 3. Paolo set off and threw his first ball. It missed. He ran to the next basket and threw another. That missed too. And just as Paolo was about to throw his last ball, he saw Poppy and Tooty standing at the finish line. Tooty the elephant had won. Poppy had come second. And Paolo hadn't even finished. Paolo felt very sorry for himself. Poppy was right about me, he said. But then he heard something. The ticking of Tooty's stopwatch. There's still time, he said. He might not win, but he could still get his last ball into the basket and finish. Paolo ran and threw the ball. It sailed into the air and down into the basket. Then he ran as fast as he could to the finish line. But the stopwatch had stopped ticking. Paolo was too late. When the friends had gone home, leaving Paolo alone on the grass, he thought about what the old penguin had said. Next time, said Paolo, I'll do it. And that night, all alone, Paolo the cat set a stopwatch and ran. One by one, he threw the balls into the baskets and ran to the finish. As he stood there smiling, the ticking of the stopwatch told him everything he needed to know. He had done it. The old penguin was right. There is nothing you can't do. Remember that. This is a story about Fudge and Lily the kittens. Fudge and Lily the kittens and the paddling pool, to be precise. Fudge and Lily live in fluffy gardens. A wonderful place to live. Our story begins with a mischievous smile. Actually, two mischievous smiles. Fudge and Lily the kittens were hiding in a bush together, waiting for Pip the squirrel to notice the little acorn lying on the path. They didn't have to wait long. Pip the squirrel smiled when she saw the acorn. Pip rather likes acorns. She would prefer cake, of course, but she does like acorns. She reached down and tried to pick it up. It wouldn't budge. She pulled and pulled. She pulled so hard, her hand slipped, and she fell backwards and landed on her bottom. Ouch! Fudge and Lily came out of the bush, laughing together. We glued the acorn to the path, they said together. We played a naughty trick on you. Poor Pip. Fudge and Lily love playing naughty tricks together. Actually, being twin sisters, Fudge and Lily loved doing everything together. And that afternoon, they had lunch together. They played with a ball of wool together. And they even helped Rex the pig pick strawberries together. Fudge and Lily aren't always naughty, but they are always together. Or at least they were. On their way back home to Duet Avenue, Fudge and Lily met Camille the crocodile. Camille gave Fudge and Lily a friendly wave. "Hello," she said. "Would you like to come and play in my paddling pool?" "No, thanks," said Fudge. "Yes, please," said Lily. And then they looked at each other. "No," said Fudge again. "Yes," said Lily. "I don't want to play in the paddling pool," said Fudge. "I'll get terribly wet." "It will be fun," said Lily. "We can splash about." "I don't want to be splashed," said Fudge. "Oh," said Lily. And then they stood together, just looking at each other. Staring together. Deciding for the first time to do something not together, but very much apart. "I want to go," said Lily, looking a little sad. Fudge thought for a moment. She didn't want to be without her sister, but she wanted Lily to have fun. "Okay then," said Fudge. "Off you go." And Fudge watched as Lily walked away with Camille the crocodile. Then she turned and went home. Back in Duet Avenue, Fudge didn't know what to do with herself. She thought about playing a naughty trick, but without Lily, it wouldn't be any fun. Nothing she could think of doing would be fun without Lily. Fudge felt very lonely and just wanted her sister back. Outside Heatlamp House, on the other hand, Lily was having a great time. She splashed around in Camille's paddling pool. She laughed as they played catch together. And she would have enjoyed a nice cool drink had Camille not tripped up on the way out and spilled them everywhere. Yes, Lily was having a lovely time. But she did miss her sister. And when it was time to go, Lily was very excited. "Thank you, Camille," she said. "Now I'm going home to see Fudge." And she skipped off home. When Lily arrived back home, Fudge was nowhere to be found. "Fudge!" shouted Lily. "Are you here?" "No," came the reply. "Oh," said Lily. "Fudge must be out somewhere." Lily went to the kitchen and poured herself a glass of milk. Then she sat on the sofa and waited for Fudge to come home from wherever she was. But then Lily saw something move. Or at least she thought she did. She put down her glass of milk and stood up. "Hello," she said. "Is anyone there?" And just then, right behind her came a loud "Boo!" Lily jumped with fright. And Fudge laughed so hard she could hardly stand up. "I was hiding," she said, still laughing. "You played a naughty trick on me," said Lily, very shocked. "Yes," said Fudge. And as they enjoyed a glass of milk together, Fudge told Lily about how lonely she had been, about how she thought about playing a naughty trick, but it wouldn't have been fun without Lily. Unless, perhaps, she played a trick on Lily herself. That gave Fudge something to do. And, as it happened, the afternoon went rather quickly. Lily laughed. "It was a very good trick," she said. "It was," agreed Fudge. These days, Fudge and Lily the kitten still do almost everything together. But if there is something one of them wants to do without the other, that's okay too. as long as they don't mind the odd naughty trick when they get home. This is a story about Poppy the tiger. Poppy the tiger and the new camera, to be precise. Poppy lives in fluffy gardens. A wonderful place to live. Our story begins on Stripe Street early one morning. Poppy the tiger was brushing her rather large teeth when she heard a knock at the door. She toddled downstairs with a mouthful of toothpaste and opened the door. It was the little penguin postman with a package for Poppy. "Here you go." "Thank you," said Poppy, covering the penguin in toothpaste. "You're very welcome," said the penguin, who rather liked being minty fresh. Inside, Poppy the tiger opened up the package. It was a present from Tooty the elephant. A camera for taking pictures. It came with a note that read, "Do treat this carefully. Signed, your good friend, Tooty." Poppy was very excited. She picked up the camera and looked through it. Poppy started taking pictures immediately. A picture of the table. Snap. A picture of her feet. Snap. A picture of a picture. Snap. Pictures of anything and everything. Snap. 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 Poppy jumped up and down happily. She ran outside to see if there was anyone around she could take pictures of. She took a picture of Mr. Johnson the panda posing by his flowers. Snap. A picture of Monty the goat deciding what to have for lunch. Snap. A picture of tiny Babs the baby bird standing beside the very large Pertree the bear. Snap. And as she was about to take a picture of Lola the mosquito juggling pies with a variety of fillings, Poppy stopped and watched. Juggling looked like so much fun. Much more fun than taking pictures. Poppy wanted to try it right away. She threw down the camera and ran to Lola. "Can I have a go?" asked Poppy. "Raspberry Ripple," said Lola, and gave Poppy her pies. Poppy threw them up one by one. The first pie landed on her head. It was cherry pie and was quite delicious. The second pie landed on Lola the mosquito. It was blueberry pie and was also quite delicious. The third pie landed on George the mean yellow dog, who happened to be passing by. It was cabbage and socks pie, was a little silly and not one bit delicious. "I hate cabbage and socks pie," shouted George, and then he stormed off. It turned out that juggling wasn't as much fun as Poppy had hoped. And now that the pies were completely ruined, Poppy decided to take more pictures. She ran to her camera and picked it up. Or at least some of it. Poppy's camera was in several pieces. When she threw it, it had broken. "Oh no," said Poppy, very upset. She picked up the pieces and tried to put the camera back together. The pieces didn't seem to fit, so she squeezed harder. And out popped another piece. Pop! She was making things worse. Poppy was going to need help to fix her camera. She took all the pieces to a little house on Fishden Street. There lives a very clever cat. Paolo the cat, to be precise. Paolo had a look at all the pieces. He did have a very good book on cameras, but Paolo wasn't good at putting things together. I have such little paws, he said, but I know someone who can help. Paolo and Puppy went to see Stinky the skunk. Stinky is very good at making things. And if he can make things, said Paolo, he can fix things. Together, Paolo the cat and Stinky the skunk worked on Puppy's camera. Paolo followed the diagrams in his book, and Stinky put each piece in the right place. They used a lot of sticky tape. When they were finished, Stinky held it up high. "We have fixed your camera," he said happily, and handed it to Puppy. Puppy was overjoyed. "But," said Stinky in a way that sounded quite important, "you must treat it very carefully." If Puppy didn't treat the camera well, it could break again, and might even break so badly that it couldn't ever be fixed again. "I promise I'll look after it from now on," said Puppy. And she meant it. She took a picture of Stinky the skunk and Paolo the cat, her special friends who had fixed her camera. Snap! And she hung it on her wall to remind herself to treat things carefully in future. After all, she wouldn't want to end up like poor Lola the mosquito. Her pies were in a dreadful state. All the sticky tape in the world wouldn't get them back together.